Thanks very much. Very interesting to follow on from Babylon, a company I admire what they're doing. I just want to take you back a little anecdote to the 90s. When I was in the mid-90s, I was working with hospital surgeons and bringing them equipment technology to help them speed up the surgeries and so on. And one particular day stands out in my mind because I couldn't quite believe it. I was in a London hospital, met with the surgeon. He said, "I'll come to my office before we go in to do the procedure." I'd brought in some new kit for him to be using. Sat down in his office and he said, "Look, I'll just have a quick chat through the procedure." And he said, "Can I offer you a glass of wine?" I'm like, that's probably okay. He had one. And then we went through and went ahead with the procedure. And, in a career working in surgeries and so on, there's only one time I've actually walked out of a surgery because I couldn't bear to watch. I'm like, it's not my place as a rep for a company to criticize too much, but having said a couple of reservations that I held against what was going on, I felt it was my time to vacate the premises. And why I want to throw those comments in is just to get you to think a little bit about the regard we hold there's esteem that we convey to doctors. No disrespect to the young lady that stood up here before me, and I've never had the brains to become a doctor myself. But it's a human being, not a god, and there's frailties involved. And I just want to contrast that a little bit as we go through a little bit around what's happening in technology. I always put this slide up because it's a no-brainer. Technology is there, hopefully, to reduce costs of healthcare. Nobody wants to carry on paying high taxes to pay for everybody in the world. The 50% that aren't covered at the moment by healthcare, there's lack of willingness to pay, even if we could afford it as a species. I think that's unrealistic to expect first world style medicine and hospitals to be duplicated across the world. And the company I work for, AliveCor, is working very hard in this area of machine learning, some deep learning work we're doing as well, and working hard to have machines interpret, in our case, electrocardiograms. There's a lot of detail in there. In fact, if you look at New England Journal of Medicine this morning, it was quoting to say that there's maybe even small markers in the ECG that can predict sudden cardiac arrest that machines might be able to find. This is the kind of area of exploration that we're doing as a company. We're working with the Mayo Clinic, for example, with their experts in healthcare, and working very hard to uncover mysteries hidden in our electrocardiogram reading and other metrics as well. One of the things that we're doing that's in our press releases, so I won't get shot for telling you, is we're working on potassium level as a marker is being indicated by the T-wave morphology changes. And if you're familiar with EKGs or ECGs, you'll understand that. We're also looking at predicting and highlighting long QT syndrome in young people so that they can be screened effectively before entering athletics or sports and dropping dead on the playing field. This is something that's already done. Screening is done, but the false positive rates are often very high, and they put off promising young athletes who may or may not be at risk. One of the things that you'll notice if you use our application is that over the first few months it will learn what your ECG fingerprint is like. The machine learns to recognize you, and if you try mine in the lunch break, make a recording on my phone of your ECG, it will say, hang on a minute, is this Francis? Because it will know it's different to my usual ECG pattern. And that is also a way of reflecting some learning to me of, hang on, if it says it's not you today, something's changed in my physiology. So that's a very interesting area of work we've got going. Moving on from that, I just wanted to go completely kind of off the page and talk a little bit about bounded freedom. As human beings, whether we live in Europe or we live in the land of the free, in the US or wherever we live in the world, in China, we always think of that as a very closed country. In fact, it is the only country I've been to where immigration queues are longer coming out than going in, but still, it's every country on planet Earth has some sort of boundaries to our freedom. Right? In the US, you can buy an AK-47, but you can't buy a medical device. Over here, it's the other way around. I know which I prefer, but there we go. But we're protected from choosing bad restaurants by good hygiene laws. Doctors are there to prevent us choosing the wrong medications. And speed limits, which I love, obviously, because I used to have a motorcycle, are there to prevent us doing damage on the roads. When it comes to artificial intelligence, I think we're yet to discover how to bound the freedom, to draw the line of regulation around how that develops and how it goes forward. What do we allow it to do on our behalf? What don't we? And there's a whole ethical debate of, as machines become more and more intelligent, where are the lines? What can driverless cars do? Can they kill the pedestrian and protect the occupant, or do they kill the occupant to protect the pedestrian? No one's really answered that question as far as I know, and that's why driverless cars aren't really being adopted so widely, because there's lots of dilemmas around that. Also the impact on jobs. But then, where do you start with that and stop with that? There's a lot of ethical debate around that. Life support machines. If the life support machine is intelligent enough, it figures, this person's not going to make it, I'll just switch off. Would you rather a machine that knew more than your doctor made that choice, or your doctor make that choice? They've had a bad day, fell out with the partner at home, had a couple of drinks the night before they come in, feeling pretty angry inside. Maybe it compromises their decision. The machine won't feel that. It's just throwing it out there to make you have food for thought. So is AI really exceeding human intelligence? Well, I'd like to try my Google Photos by putting in dog and seeing what it comes up with. And this is literally, sadly, what's in my Google Photos. So you'll see a range of things from baby lamb to a bag, actually a dog, another dog, some guinea pigs. What's the hit rate on there? It's even got the cathedral in Barcelona that I can never pronounce the name of. And a lake. Oh, there is a dog there. Yes. But, this isn't really beyond my ability, or any of yours, right? Or a 5-year-old. Now, Google might be holding back on us, but I wonder, how bright that machine is. And if this is healthcare, this is not acceptable, is it? If you say, okay, pull out cancer slides in a radiographer's department, and it's about as good as that, I think we've got some work to do. We've heard a bit about how bright computers are, playing Go, Jeopardy, and the other things. And I'm sure some things have been mentioned today and yesterday, but I still think there's quite a long way to go before we can really hand over the medical field to machines. Having said that, I think it was last week, there was a picture came through Twitter showing a robot dentist replacing a tooth on some poor Chinese person. The first person in the world to have a tooth replaced by an autonomous robot. I guess it was successful. I didn't read the article, but it kind of, I mean, if you think dentists are scary, I think an autonomous robot. Really? Oh my God. But when you look at robotic surgery, for example, this Da Vinci robot, the pictures had no copyright, so I'm using them. Hopefully Da Vinci won't mind. But when the surgeon's doing the surgery with the robot's doing the actual work, but it's the brain of the doctor. And I'm sure this company, I don't know the specifics, but they're working on highlighting areas where the surgeon should cut and using augmented reality inside that helmet. They've got the head stuck in to help. But essentially, who's training who here? Is the doctor learning from the machine? Is the machine learning from the doctor? Is it a tool? Or is the company, I'm sure this company's not, but are they using it to harvest the knowledge of surgery from the doctor so they can make an autonomous surgeon? Maybe they should be. That's an ethical question, right? Of who's helping who. And with the healthcare needs that were put up on the slide from Babylon, I think we need to broaden our minds a little bit here. But let's just roll forward a little bit and say, okay, the machine's learned to become intelligent enough to do surgery. It's with you before the surgery and after the surgery. It's learning all about you. It's becoming more and more intelligent over time. Say 20 years, 30 years. How many years' time before the machine, whatever it looks like, is a lot better than a doctor? In that scenario, I'm predicting, and my big prediction I'm going to do right now, so I'm throwing it in the middle, is that there'll be a time when it'll be unthinkable to have a human being operate on you for certain things, because they are, I'm sure nobody has a glass of wine before surgery now, but there's human frailty, there's mistakes that can be made, and a machine will reach a certain level of competence where it's unthinkable to go to a person. Now, having thrown that in, sure, we're not all ready to accept that. I'm sure I'm not even ready for a robot to put my tooth back in. But you can see the journey that we're on. And I think that that's something, I wanted my talk to open up about. This is my excuse to get a picture of my daughter in, because I think she's cute. I noticed 2 speakers ago, he got his daughter in, so I feel on safe ground. This is the Tron ride in Shanghai, which, by the way, is an awesome roller coaster. If you love roller coasters, get to Shanghai and go on Disney World's Tron. But Amara's law, I had to look this one up. We tend to overestimate the effect of a technology in the short run and underestimate in the long run. And the human being is full of cognitive biases, and this is one of our biases that's really hard to get over. I think when we look at machines and we look at my Google Photos and go, oh my God, that's rubbish, it's got sheep in there, it's easy to dismiss what may be the long-term impact of what we're building today. And I think we've only just begun. And one of the questions I want to leave you with over lunch is, what happens when it gets to the point where our machines outgrow us and our artificial doctors look at us as weak and pathetic and go, I'm not treating that. It's a thought, right? It might be something in a sci-fi movie, and I'm sure that future is not going to happen. But we need to start thinking about what we build, how ethically we program, where we draw the boundaries, how we welcome these things into our home. Like Alexa's pretty innocuous at the moment, but it's the boil a frog thing, isn't it? Heard that one? Boil a frog by slowly warming the water. Throw a frog into boiling water, it jumps out. And that's the end of my talk, and I hope it gives you some discussion points over lunch. And thank you very much.